Howdy y'all, my name is Dave, this is the Anime Field Guide podcast, and you are listening to The Studio Rundown. This is my series where I take you through the history and business practices of anime production houses across Japan. Today's episode is for all the dreams of the children of the world, Tatsunoko Production. Tatsunoko Pro was founded by the three Yoshida brothers, whose parents died shortly after World War II. They are headquartered in Nakucho, Musashino, Tokyo. Tatsuo Yoshida, the eldest and first company president, began as a self-taught illustrator for newspapers and magazines and sketching cutouts for kamishibai, which are paper puppets. He moved to Tokyo in 1954 and made his living as a novel illustrator. Then around 1960, he transitioned full-time to manga. He founded Tatsunoko in 1962 as a manga studio alongside his two younger brothers who helped with the creative process and copyright management. The name Tatsunoko has a double meaning. The first is written as seahorse, hence the logo. The second may be read as Tatsu's child. Tatsu is a nickname for Tatsuo. Many of Tatsunoko's early titles were inspired by superhero comic books given to the boys by American soldiers after the defeat of Japan in World War II, and subsequently Tatsunoko's first anime projects adapted Tatsuo Yoshida's manga. The two younger brothers are Kenji Yoshida, who helped with planning and production management for the company, and Toyoharu Yoshida, better known as Ippei Kuri, anime director, planner, producer, and designer, and he also has a few manga series of his own. Both brothers also served as president of Tatsunoko at one time or another after Tatsuo. Another major figure in this story is Hiroshi Sasagawa. Now, Sasagawa worked as a manga assistant to Osamu Tezuka before going independent. He did storyboard for Tezuka's Astro Boy anime, and subsequently influenced Yoshida-san to enter Tatsunoko into the anime industry. Sasagawa has largely remained with Tatsunoko for the company's more than 60 years of business across several creative roles, including his current advisory position. Tatsunoko's first anime is Space Ace, based on the manga by Tatsuo Yoshida and directed by Hiroshi Sasagawa. This follows the adventures of an alien boy named Space Ace, who is the owner of a galaxy ring, a white hoop that he can produce from his fingers that can be used as a weapon or a flying device, and originally planned as a co-production with Toei Animation. Sasagawa and two assistants were further trained as animators by Toei over a period of 3 months. However, due to the companies having disagreement over copyright, and the majority of Tatsunoko's staff preferring to remain as manga artists and not animators, the initial project was scrapped, and Toei proceeded with their own sci-fi adventure series, Space Patrol Hopper, which premiered in 1965. However, Tatsuo was undeterred. The Tatsunoko company cleared a spot of land in Kokobunji, Tokyo, and constructed their first animation studio in a tiny prefab house. Newspaper ads brought in around 50 amateurs who were all trained by Sasagawa, Tatsuo, and Kuri. Art director Mitsuki Nakamura transferred from Toei to assist on the project, as well as screenwriter Jinzo Toriumi from Nikatsu. Space Ace began as a 15-minute pilot film that was pitched to television stations, and after it was picked up, ran for 52 episodes from March 1965 to April of 1966. It's impressive for a debut work, but nowadays the animation and plot is very basic and rather awkward. It is also worth noting that Space Ace also has an English dub, but this is basically considered as lost media. Tatsunoko's second anime, however, is Mach Go Go Go, or Speed Racer, in 1967. Now, this is where the rubber hits the road for Tatsunoko, so to speak, wherein the main character, named Speed Racer, is a teenager who drives a tricked-out sports car, the iconic Mach 5, in high-octane wacky races. The plot, cars, characters, art direction all drew heavy inspiration from American comics, and Tatsuo had ambitious designs in mind which made this cartoon very expensive to produce. But luckily, Speed Racer was a massive hit outside of Japan, thanks to its blend of action and humor, opened up a lot of merchandising opportunities for the new studio. An English dub was quickly produced, and Speed Racer went on to define Tatsunoko. It's a series that put the studio on the map. The production of Speed Racer includes many luminaries on its staff, including Yoshitaka Amano. Amano worked as a character designer on several Tatsunoko franchises through the 1970s, including Gatchaman, Time Bokon and its sequels, as well as Robot Hunter Kasharn and Hurricane Polymer. He went freelance in 1982 and is still active today. Science Ninja Team Gatchaman in 1972 was an even more ambitious project than Speed Racer. It tells the tale of 5 youths of the Science Ninja Squad who don superpowered suits to defend Earth from the villainous Galactor organization that seeks world domination. Once again, Tatsunoko staffed up and trained new animators to meet the vision, and once again their efforts were rewarded. Thanks to the merchandising and copyright income, Tatsunoko had yet another franchise hit on their hands, and the studio also began to tap more into the toy market by including more mecha into their shows that could then be transformed into toys. Gatchaman's international broadcast rights were acquired by Sandy Frank, who heavily edited down and rebranded Gatchaman to Battle of the Planets, made it fall closer in line to Star Wars, which was great success for Sandy Frank, but Tatsunoko did not receive any of these proceeds due to that agreement excluding Asia. Gatchaman also helped popularize the convention of the 5-member superhero team, as Toei's Super Sentai franchise began in 1975 and ran for 50 years. One of Tatsunoko's biggest franchise hits, Time Bokon, also began its run in 1975, so defined by the time-traveling insectoid mecha piloted by our heroes as they meet various historical figures and fend off a bumbling trio of villains as both sides are in search of a mystical jewel called the Dynamon. Time Bokon Yatterman in 77 is of particular note for introducing the Doronbo gang, consisting of Doronjo and her 2 bumbling lackeys, being key inspirations for an uncounted number of anime villain trios over the years. Easiest example is probably Jesse, James, and Meowth of Team Rocket in Pokemon. Time Bokon in general is one of Tatsunoko's biggest franchise hits, with over 7 seasons or entries during its primary run into the late 1980s, with spin-offs through the 90s and the 2010s. Mech designer Kunio Okawara is credited for the iconic robots of Yatterman, and he also got his start earlier at Tatsunoko designing for Gatchaman and various robot anime Hurricane Polymer in 1974 and Tekkaman in 1975. He is primarily associated with Gundam nowadays, but still contributed designs to Gatchaman and Time Bokon through the 80s and beyond. Also of note is robot hunter Kasharn in 1973. Kasharn is an android who is formerly human. He underwent a procedure in order to destroy the robots that have taken over the world and pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. The chief villain is named Burai King Boss, who is turned evil by a lightning bolt and subsequently corrupted his fellow robots. Also during this time, from 1975 through 77, Tatsunoko picked up 4 university graduates to develop as in-house directors. These gentlemen would later be known as the 4 Heavenly Kings of Tatsunoko. We have Koichi Mashimo, who would later be known for directing a lot of Girls with Guns anime, Hidehito Ueda, whose episodes and later series director on the Time Bokon entries, as well as one of the directors of Gatchaman Fighters in 1979. He went freelance in 87. Mamoru Oshii was one of the later ones. He joined in 77 and worked storyboards and episode direction on Gatchaman 2 and Time Bokon. He followed his mentor Hisayuki Toriyumi to Studio Pierrot in 1980. Alongside frequent collaborator and animation director Mizuho Nishikubo. He left in 1979 and worked on Rosa Versailles and Tomorrow's Joe 2 under Osamu Dezaki. Nishikubo is also the chief director of Red Light Bullet Zillion, which is the cartoon that is the roots of Production IG. In March of 1977, Tatsunoko had formed its first subsidiary, Anime Friend, which assisted the main studio on projects until its closure in 1990. Another subcontracted company, Studio World, came online in 1978 and closed in 1988, but the late 70s was a turbulent time for Tatsunoko. In September of 77, Tatsuo Yoshida passed away from liver cancer. He was 45 years old. He was succeeded by the middle brother, Kenji, who ran the company until 1987 and then handed the reins to the youngest brother, Ippei Kuri, who ran the company until his retirement in 2005. Tatsunoko was experiencing financial issues due to the increasing expense and workload of producing all of these cartoons in-house, and management began to tighten the purse strings as well as the amount of sales per episode on top of outsourcing more of the animation. So for the creatives at this time, you can read interviews and things like Mamoru Oshii is very frank that Tatsunoko at this time began to feel very restrictive and corporate. And so there was a talent drain on top of all this other stuff going on. And subsequently, a major part of Tatsunoko's legacy as a company is tied to the studios that were founded by these former staffers who left to forge their own path. We're talking Ashi Productions in 75, Artmic in 78, and Studio Pierrot in 1979. To help combat this, Tatsunoko established a training school in 1978, which remained open until 1990. Kenji Yoshida quickly greenlit the Gatchaman sequel projects as well as more Time Bokon entries, alongside further original projects such as 1980's Gold Warrior Lighton. A transforming golden robot and his companions team up with a young boy named Hiro to defend the Earth from invading alien robots. These robots are powered by a heart-shaped box located in the chest and are robots in disguise. Sound familiar? Well, mechanical designs on Gold Lighton as well as 1979's Warrior Gordian are credited to Shoji Kawamori at Studio Nue, which also co-produced this next major entry, 1982's Super Dimension Fortress Macross, the first in the long-running Macross franchise, with its iconic blend of space opera, transforming Valkyrie jets, and the power of music and dance. Macross is easily one of the most influential anime of the 80s. Tatsunoko was also the chief animation house for 1984's Macross Do You Remember Love, which reinterpreted the events of the TV anime as a theatrical film, and this run remains a generational moment for anime in the theater. Like, nothing I can say about Macross here can even scratch the surface. Tatsunoko's involvement with Macross also includes the legendary fallout after 1984's Do You Remember Love, after Big West went behind their backs to create more Macross entries without Tatsunoko's involvement, in which Tatsunoko signed a contract with Harmony Gold USA that resulted in the birth of the Robotech franchise, and a decades-long legal quagmire over the IP, Robotech vs. Macross. Also, around this time, in 1983, the Time Bokan series concluded its main run with the 7th installment, Itadakiman. It was canceled prematurely at 20 episodes due to poor ratings. Future Time Bokan entries would consist of short revival or anniversary projects. Getting further into the 80s, we have 1985's Alpenrose of Fire Judy and Randy and 1986's Legend of Hikari, in which Mitsuhisa Ishikawa was on production manager and Takayuki Goto was animation director. And the men teamed up again in December of 1987. They formed a branch office at the main studio and produced Red Light Bullet Zillion. Shortly after, these men teamed up and left Tatsunoko along with their staff to form the company that would become Production IG, so check out our first episode in the rundown. In 1990, Tatsunoko's animation training center closed down and the staff went independent. This team was led by Koji Sugi, who alongside Hiroshi Sasagawa established the short-lived Animation 21 company that was quickly folded into Studio Kikon, a subsidiary of Piero, after which Sasagawa returned to Tatsunoko. 1990 also concerns the anime Kyato Ninden Teiyandi, later adapted by Saban Entertainment into Samurai Pizza Cat in 1991. Saban also picked up 1969's The Genie Family, renaming the series to Bob in a Bottle. He also adapted the Gatchaman series as The Eagle Riders in 1996, 1980's Cheerful Dwarves of the Forests. He transformed that into The Little Bits from 91 to 95. In 1992, Tatsunoko produced Tekkaman Blade, an updated reboot of Tekkaman, with a direct sequel OVA in 1994. Saban and Media Blasters translated Tekkaman Blade and released it to English audiences as Technoman, but only the first 13 episodes were released before this version was axed. In 1995, Kenji Yoshida returned to lead the company and continued the trend of remakes and reboot one-offs for classic properties. We have Sasagawa and other Animation 21 staffers return to Tatsunoko, and he was the chief director on many of these properties, including Gatchaman 1994 OVAs with Studio Artmic, New Hurricane Polymer with JC Staff, Speed Racer 1997 adapted into Speed Racer X by DeK Entertainment in 2002, and Time Bokan 2000 directed by Ueda Hidehito. But far from resting on their laurels with remakes, we also have two of the most iconic anime of the 1990s. First, we have the comedy sci-fi Irresponsible Captain Tyler in 1993, directed by Koichi Mashimo, following the adventures of Justy Wakey Tyler as he stumbles into a career with the United Planets Space Force and is placed in charge of a junker of a spacecraft, the Soyokaze, crewed by the dregs and rejects of the space military. All the while, Tyler remains relaxed, as everything is sure to work out in the end. Captain Tyler was incredibly popular in the United States. He was like foundational just about to early 90s US fandom. In 1995, Tatsunoko also partnered with a little studio called Gainax to help produce Neon Genesis Evangelion, and also pitched in for work assistance on the first Rebuild movie. Not all of them, just the first one. Tatsunoko was, of course, still working heavily in copyright and licensing, in addition to toys and comics. Tatsunoko began to license their characters out for the emerging video game market. We have Samurai Pizza Cats on the NES, Time Bokan received RPGs, action-adventure games, and kart racing. Gatchaman got a shoot-'em-up game, as well as crossover fighting games Tatsunoko Fight and Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. That last one came over here on the Wii. Tatsunoko also animated scenes for the Fate Stay Night visual novels, as well as sequences for Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. And as we get into the 2000s proper, we have some late 90s studio wrap-ups. We have producer Kenji Horikawa left Tatsunoko to found Studio B-Train in 1997, so of the Doc Hat franchise and others. June 1998, Studio Actus was founded by producer Hiroshi Kato, also formerly of Ashi Productions. Support Studio A-Line was established in December of 2000. And Kenji Horikawa also established Studio PA Works in November of 2000s. Now, of this group, PA Works is the only studio still operational. The rest have either closed or been absorbed into other studios. So as for Tatsunoko in the 2000s, we have The Soul Taker in 2001, directed by Akiyuki Shimbo, now better known for his works over at Studio Shaft. It's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi superpower TV anime in which a 17-year-old battles an evil organization who's kidnapped his sister, and he can transform into a superpowered being called the Soul Taker whenever he's severely injured. Soul Taker is Tatsunoko's first anime to utilize digital animation techniques, as well as their first anime to be broadcast on high-definition television. We also have a spin-off OVA series, Nurse Witch Komugi-chan, the majority of which was produced with Kyoto Animation that ran from 2002 to 2005. Also, a brief shout-out to Suzuka Yoshida, eldest daughter of Tatsuo, who also became an artist. She's an illustrator and character designer, mainly cute mascot characters for various media and the government buildings and things. Her credits include character designs on the short-form series Akibi Girl in 2001 and 2006. She's a genie-type magical girl with a flying carpet. 2008's Mach Girl, which is a spin-off of sorts for Speed Racer if Speed Racer was a Barbie. Illustrations are on Tatsunoko's official website as Suzuka's Museum. In March 2005, Tatsunoko announced an original sci-fi OVA series, Chorus, to celebrate their 40th anniversary of film production. Chorus was 6 episodes total, starting in 2005 and ending in 2007. Each episode in Japan was released on pay-per-view and featured high production values with its blend of 2D and 3D animation and effects, although the dark fantasy superpower cyberpunk thriller was kind of a mess in the story department. But also in 2005, after 43 years of running as an independent studio, Takara purchased an 88% stake of Tatsunoko on June 30th, 2005, a year prior to its merger with Tomy to then form Takara Tomy. Following this, Kenji Yoshida and Ippei Kuri resigned from their posts. Also, Tatsuo Yoshida was posthumously awarded the Special Achievement Award as one of the 20 people who made Japanese animation at the Tokyo Anime Award held at the Tokyo International Anime Fair. Robotech: The Shadow Chronicles was produced in 2006 with Harmony Gold USA. This is a direct movie follow-up to the 1985 TV series, which had a limited theater run in 2006. The ticket proceeds for Robotech went to relief efforts for Hurricane Katrina. Then Funimation handled the home video release in 2007. Tatsunoko also produced a Yatterman remake that ran from 2007 and 8, and they were also on the production committee for 2008's Casshern Sins that was animated by Madhouse Studio. 2010 was a remake film of yet another classic Tatsunoko project. This is Hutch the Honeybee. Now, the original TV series ran in 1970, got a sequel in 1974, got a remake in 1989. It tells the story of a honeybee separated from his mother, has an adventure with various insects that he meets on his way as he's journeying home. But of course, as Tatsunoko is now a subsidiary of Takara Tomy, we of course have to talk about the tie-in anime, including Beyblade Metal Fusion in 2009 through 2011, Combined Transformers Go, an OVA series in 2013, as well as a web series, a 3-web series in collaboration with Hasbro and Machinima. This is Combiner Wars in 2016, Titan's Return in 2017, and Power of the Primes in 2018. 2011 is also the kickoff of the Pretty Rhythm franchise. This is magical girls' song and dance routines on ice skates. We're talking multiple TV anime from 2011 through 2016. 2014 is also a spin-off of sorts, Prepara. This is a co-production with South Korean studio Dongwoo A&E. Now, Prepara is a Takara arcade music game plus mobile game. These ran from 2014 through 2018, multiple TV seasons and movies, followed by newer entries, Kirato Pri-chan in 2018 through 2019, and Waka Primagi from 2021 through 2022. They also animated a 12-episode web series, Idleland Prepara, to coincide with the mobile game that also ran for 2021 through 2024. This was just to coincide for various game events. And then Studio OLM picked up the Prepara series with its 5th entry beginning in 2024. A concurrent film series that covered side characters in the Pretty Rhythm was Pretty Rhythm King of Prism. These are 5 movies, so basically 2016 through 2024 so far. Also through the 2010s and 2020s, we have more remakes of classic titles, Yatterman Knight, Time Bokan 24, Time Bokan The Villain Strike Back, Gatchaman Crowds, and its 2nd season, Gatchaman Crowds Insight. Manga adaptations include high school band series Yozakura Quartet in 2013, Ping Pong the Animation in 2014, We also have the collaboration with director Yutaka Yamamoto and his studio Ordet on 2014's television anime Wake Up Girls, which is loosely based on an idol management sim game from 2013, and it also got 2 movies. There's also 2011's anime C, The Money of Soul Impossibility. It's a battle anime where attacks deal direct damage to your opponent's bank account. This was heavily inspired by the 2008 financial crisis and subsequent recessions through early 2010. And I think that transitions pretty well through this next segment, because through the 2010s, other companies began to acquire pieces of the Tatsunoko corporate pie. Production IG acquired about 11% of Tatsunoko's shares in 2010. Ishikawa-san also became a part-time member of Tatsunoko's board of directors. In 2013, HordePro acquired 13.5% of the shares, making it the second largest shareholder at the time after Takara Tomy. And in 2014, Nippon Television Holdings purchased Tatsunoko from Takara Tomy via a share swap, but Takara still maintained a 20% stake in the company, which is how we still have the earlier tie-in anime were still produced under this partnership between Tatsunoko and Tomy. For the company's 55th anniversary, Tatsunoko announced a number of projects that resulted in 2017's 3D anime Infinity Force, which is a crossover between Tatsunoko properties from the 70s, as well as January 2019's The Price of Smiles. 2019 is also when Tatsunoko founded a new animation production label, Bakken Record. They produced a crossover anime, Pandora and Akubi. So Akubi is from the Genie family with Tatsunoko, and Pandora is from X-Flag's Monster Strike game. Bakken Record also produced a number of anime that include Jorin, Princess of Snow and Blood, To Ever You I've Loved Before, Ippon Again, and Turkey. In 2021, the international trademark rights for Robotech, owned by Harmony Gold, were returned to Tatsunoko Production, in addition to negotiations with Big West concerning the coexistence of Robotech and Macross moving forward, basically ending the feud of almost 30 years, but the fallout of which we're still working through. Going into the 2020s, Tatsunoko produced a few series to their YouTube channel that are of interesting note, beginning with Spectacle Spectrum. Now, this seems to be more like a training program for rookie talent that they spun into content. This ranges from voice dramas, song and dance, singing videos, voice training, so just a number of little projects like that. July 2020, they premiered a new mascot hero, Gocho Kippon. He's like themed around hands. Like, dude is in a yellow, red, and blue cape costume with a fist on his head, and he sings with like various rock, paper, scissor poses. It's a interesting set of videos. We also have Toy Tuber Gunchan, who's another costume fellow, sponsored by Tatsunoko. This is a toy YouTuber, so he plays with Tatsunoko toy products, as well as a Minecraft Lego set one time where he acts out a short drama. It's just weird. Also weird is this web series Exception. This is a 3D CG web series for Netflix set in a distant future where a spacecraft is sent to a planet, and rather than cryosleep, its crew are all 3D printed via this complex biocomputer, but one of these prints goes wrong, and a crew member is printed as this horrific monster. It's essentially a big old sci-fi whodunit, or a lot of comparisons are, okay, this is just anime Among Us. Their 60th anniversary in 2022 was marked by a special illustration of 60 characters plus a redesign of Yatterman's Kotobuki Robot by Kunio Okawara, which also later got a plastic model kit. Tatsunoko's anime output during this time includes Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel in 2023 based on the video game, as well as a puzzling web series in Pole Princess, co-created with Avex Pictures, which handled the music. It's a 6-minute pole dancing anime. It's also got a movie in November 2023 and a web radio drama series on YouTube. And then we also have A Gatherer's Adventure Enter Another World. That's a 2025 light novel isekai series. And coming up as of this recording, Tatsunoko has announced 3 manga adaptations. We have Giant Ojo-sama, the premiere date is TBD. It's a comedy series about a high school girl who can grow big and gets into kaiju battles that destroy the city, yet everything is fine by the next day. We have Spring 2026's Pardon the Intrusion, with studios Gonzo and Seven assisting. It's an office lady, otaku, who lives next door to 2 handsome men, and all 3 of their apartments become connected through these holes in the wall. Okay. But the big one is Summer 2026's The Banks of the Red River, or just Red River. It's a 90s shoujo manga where a modern-day girl, Yuri Suzuki, is magically abducted and time travels to Hattusa, the capital of the Hittite Empire in Anatolia. The evil queen wants to sacrifice Yuri to a pagan god, but the queen fails because Yuri is saved by the handsome prince. Yuri must now survive the politics and wars of the Bronze Age and somehow find a way home. So again, that's coming summer of 2026 is the announcement date. Also coming up, we have Samurai Pizza Cats, Blast from the Past. It's an action platformer coming sometime this year, as well as Tatsunoko's continuing partnership with American comic books. Unfortunately, there is so much to already go through in this episode that I just had to focus on the anime side. So if you want more of the comic book side of Tatsunoko, then there's a lot of resources to check that out as well. So there's a continuing partnership with Mad Cave Studio, so they've announced comic books for Gatchaman and Speed Racer and a number of others. As for the remaining Yoshida brothers, Ippei-san has since passed away in 2023, but as of this recording, Kenji, the middle brother, is still alive. And that has been your studio rundown for Tatsunoko Production.